the country representative, Terras Dis Homes, TDH, to make a statement on behalf of all the civil society organizations in Uganda. Mr. James Yesiga, karibu.
The First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, honorable ministers and government officials here present, members of parliament, faith leaders and cultural leaders, representatives of civil society organizations and the United Nations here present, young people, children and girls most especially here present, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of civil society organizations, we join the rest of the world on National Day of the Child. Our generation. This theme is particularly pertinent as the pandemic has increased the importance of communication technology and digital platforms, which have helped people to stay connected and also provided students with access to education. It's a powerful opportunity. An opportunity for learning, but they also present new risks and challenges, which we all have a role in addressing. Civil society organizations acknowledge the important commitments from the government of Uganda to address issues of digital access, including for girls. We have seen a commitment to integrate the aspects of gender, youth, people with disabilities, and marginalized groups in ICT programs within the 2014 National ICT Policy. And this includes the implementation of special ICT training programs for women, youth, and people with disabilities. We also acknowledge efforts geared at keeping girls in school, improving their school completion rates through addressing both institutional, gender, and cultural barriers in collaboration with social, cultural, and community groups under the country's Vision 2040. We, however, continue to notice that 80% of Uganda's school-age children and youth live in rural areas, where we see basic infrastructure and underdeveloped educational and other service facilities. The difficulty of accessing learning technologies remains, and the digital divide between privileged and less privileged groups has continued to widen the education gap during this period dominated by COVID-19. Without equal access to technology and internet, girls and women will not be able to equally participate in our increasingly digital societies. Holding back girls and women in this area affects multiple aspects of their lives, their access to learning, as well as their ability to speak out and campaign on issues that matter to them. In multiple events that lead up to the International Day of the Girl Child this year, we have been engaging with girls who have been expressing both enthusiasm for engaging online spaces, as well as some of their frustrations and barriers to their access and equitable participation. For instance, One of the girls shared with us that she or her family is unable to pay for data to access learning online. She told us that when her father has 15,000 shillings, he decides to spend it on food for the family and cannot spend it on internet data or TV subscription that would enable her to continue with her education. Another girl told us that when she gets online, she's not sure what information is true and what information is not true. Girls are also worried that their private information may be leaked online and make them vulnerable to insults and attacks. As part of the International Day of the Girl Child this year, girls are also reflecting on the discrimination and harm they receive and witness in accessing digital spaces. They are exposed to the whole world of false information and stereotyping online, and this can mean wading through half-truth, prejudice, downright lies to unearth the undoubtedly useful and truthful factual information and interesting opinions that can actually be gotten from the internet. In a global study led by Plan International for this year's day of the International Day of the Girl Child, it was found that 9 in 10 girls report the spreading of false information online. 9 in 10, that's 90%. So false information online has left 1 in 5 girls feeling physically unsafe, while 1 in 3 report that false information is affecting their mental health. And this leaves them stressed, worried, anxious, and mentally disturbed. Such false information online can compound discrimination and harmful stereotypes they encounter in the rest of their lives, further limiting their ambition and their ability to learn about the issues that interest them online. Misinformation and disinformation online is a human rights issue, affecting girls' rights to participation, to education, and freedom of expression. As girls and young women struggle to disentangle truth from fiction, facts from propaganda, their trust in all sources of information, governments, academics, journalists, community leaders, is undermined. There is need to be aware of this, to understand the specific effects of online misinformation and disinformation on girls and young women, so that then we can all together tailor-make solutions to meet their needs. As we celebrate the International Day of the Girl Child, it's important to note that increasing girls and young women's digital skills involves early and sustained exposure to digital technologies. Interventions must reflect a multifaceted approach, enabling girls and women to acquire skills in a variety of formal and informal contexts, at home, in school, and in their communities. Ladies and gentlemen, as civil society, we call upon various stakeholders, especially government, to make a concerted effort to strengthen digital initiatives and activities that enable girls to learn, thrive, contribute to decision-making for social and economic transformation of the country. And this can potentially be done, Chief Guest, through the following. Number 1, fund and deliver digital literacy initiatives and campaigns for girls and children. And this should also include their caregivers and parents so that they understand the critical importance of digital inclusion, meaningful connectivity, and the opportunities and risks that come with being online. Number 2, because digital is the new normal, especially following the COVID-19 pandemic, government should continue striving to implement alternative learning approaches that are increasingly inclusive. 3, ensure equal access to learning relevant technical skills and digital literacy through training programs that could be specific for girls to be able to take advantage of technology and digital tools. 4, establish digital literacy as part of the school curriculum. And as our chief guest today, we believe this is within your means since it falls within your ministerial docket. So establish digital literacy as part of the school curriculum for schools, both primary and secondary, including components which explicitly address gender. 5, government should work with the telecommunication service providers to improve access and affordability of internet by lowering the costs associated with internet data and other digital technologies for women and girls. 6, the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, the National Information Technology Authority should expedite the implementation of the Data Protection Act by passing the required regulations and setting up the necessary. The media should strive to inform, educate, and mobilize the public to respect and promote women's rights online. 9, the media should improve on their professionalism in reporting about cases of online violence against women. And lastly, Chief Guest, civil society organizations should seek to build stronger multi-stakeholder coalitions to advance and promote women and girls' rights online. And this we are committed to do. As I wind up, Chief Guest, as civil society, we reaffirm our continued support and commitment towards working with government to ensure that girls get equal through access to an inclusive digital world while ensuring safety and freedom from online violence and discrimination. Thank you very much for your attention. I do have a copy of this statement for our chief guest.
Thank you very much. It will be passed on through the appropriate mechanisms. Thank you very much, Mr. Yesiga James, the country director, TDH in Uganda, on behalf of all the civil society organizations in Uganda. Mama, before I invite the next speaker, allow me recognize some of the prominent people who are present here at this function. Permit me recognize the Honorable Betty Among Ongom, the Minister for Gender, Labor and Social Development, who is our host. Permit me, Chief Guest, to recognize Honorable Nyirabashith Sarah Mateke, the Minister of State for Youth and Children Affairs. Permit me to recognize Honorable Colonel Retired Okero P. Charles Engora, the Minister of State for Labor, Employment and Industrial Relations. Permit me, Mama, to recognize Honorable Dr. Joyce Moriku Kaduchu, the Minister of State for Primary Education. Permit me to recognize His Excellency Ambassador Kevin Colgan, Ambassador of Ireland to Uganda, also on behalf of the EU. Permit me to recognize Dr. Moni Safieldin, the UNICEF country rep in Uganda, who is putting on 2 coats. He's also the resident coordinator for the UN today during this function. Permit me to recognize Madame Adekemi Ndieri, UNFPA country representative at the interim. Oh, UN Women, thank you. I will apologize. Permit me to recognize Mrs. Bit Bisangwa, the Executive Director, OFRA. Permit me to recognize Honorable Margaret Makoha, Uganda Parliamentary Forum for Children. Permit me to recognize the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development, Mr. Eddie Chibenge. Permit me to recognize all the senior government officials here present. Kindly stand up for recognition. Senior government officials. Permit me recognize our UN fraternity, colleagues from the UN. Could you kindly stand up for recognition? Permit me recognize the country representative UNFPA, Mama Suzanne. Sorry, I had given you a title to somebody else. Thank you very much for being present. Allow me to recognize all the civil society organizations that work with us tirelessly to make the lives of the children better. Civil society organizations. Mama, I was also going to add the media fraternity to stand up, but they are already standing up. All the media fraternity, thank you for being with us all the time and for making what we do and what we say known to the rest of the world. Allow me to recognize the children, the most important people, why we are here. And making you last is just to show the prominence that we attach to you. All the children stand up for recognition. And I'm saying all those below 18, if you're above, please don't stand up. We are live on NTV and NBS. Thank you very much. May I now take the honor to invite His Excellency Ambassador of Ireland to Uganda to make a statement on behalf of the EU. Your Excellency, you are welcome.
Honourable Minister of Education and Sports and First Lady, Honourable Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Permanent Secretaries and your technical teams here present, my EU colleagues, development partners and UN representatives, civil society organisations, and especially our guests of honours, the girls here with us today, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Good morning, one and all. In Ireland, we would call this a soft day. This type of rain is a real sign of good luck, and I hope that it rubs off on our International Day of the Girl Child. First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me here to join you all in the celebration of this important day. I'm not only here today as Ambassador of Ireland, but also as a representative of the EU member states, and also as a grandfather of a brand new girl child. This celebration is particularly important in the calendar of the European Union, so much so that we decided a day was not enough, so established a European Week of Action for Girls to highlight the rights of girls both in the EU and our partner countries. Indeed, no country in the world has fully achieved equality and empowerment for women and girls, so it is important that we mark this day the world round. Ireland, alongside other European member states, is 100% committed to ensuring that the girl child is supported, nurtured, protected, encouraged and enabled to reach her full potential. be that as a daughter, a student, a mother, a scientist, a teacher, a future leader of our community, or indeed of our country. And speaking of female leaders and role models, I would like to acknowledge and applaud the Honourable Minister for Education and First Lady, Mama Janet Museveni, together with our counterpart, the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, for their spearheading and promotion of gender equity in the country. This political leadership and commitment is something that we should all recognise and applaud. Honourable Ministers and colleagues, as we celebrate today, it is important that we take stock of the progress that Uganda has realised in line with SDG 5 on gender equality, which recognises and promotes girls' rights and the unique challenges that they face. I have recently returned to Uganda. It's a returning home of sorts. I had the good fortune to live here between 1996 and 2000. And even after a very few weeks, it's clear to me that the country has made tremendous progress in terms of maternal health, infrastructure, and of course in education. When I was here in 1997, I witnessed the landmark introduction of UPE. And many years later, I was very happy to hear when Uganda was the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to introduce universal secondary education in 2007. Both these milestones are key to getting more girls into school and reaching their full potential. However, there are still pervasive gender and equity barriers that continue to undermine our efforts to ensure the girl's child not only survives, but thrives. And I would like to remind us of a few facts that highlight the challenges that remain. In Africa today, 52 million girls and young women are still denied the opportunity to go to school. And even when they start school, they're likely to drop out early. Sexual violence among girls in Uganda is at 35%, with nearly half of these girls having experienced sexual violence before the age of 16. Adolescent girls represent 29% of all new HIV/AIDS infections in Uganda, though they only represent 10% of the population. These stark statistics are reminders of the challenges that remain. However, there are also figures and research that offer hope and guide us towards interventions that are transformative for the girl child. On average, women who have a secondary school education are more likely to work and more likely to earn twice as much as those without education. Every dollar invested in female schooling in low and middle income countries would return $5 in terms of the value of under 5 mortality reduction alone. Educated women are less likely to experience intimate partner violence, but more likely to have healthier children and participate fully in society and be active members of their community. In terms of how we work, we in the EU know better than most that we can be stronger in partnership. Working as a team, we can complement and support each other to have a greater impact. An example of this is the EU-UN Spotlight Initiative, being stronger together by bringing EU member states together with the government and the UN that help eliminate violence against women and girls. This flagship programme, worth over 30 million, supports a gender-responsive judicial system and works closely with cultural leaders to change community-level social norms and beliefs. This Team Europe initiative has the girl child at its heart. Another strong example of EU partnership is the partnership to support girls in Uganda involves Ireland and Belgium technical cooperation, working together to promote vocational education and skills development with a bias towards female and the girl child. The programme enables girls and women to access skills in multiple domains, some traditional, some less traditional, opening up opportunities for female employment and empowerment. And I know Honourable Minister of Education First Lady had the pleasure to visit a vocational technical institute recently with the EU ambassadors in Karamoja to see at first hand these impressive skills. The girl child has been at the heart of Ireland's cooperation in Uganda for over 2 decades. And I remember in my first time here working with Kangoli Girls' School in Karamoja to help bursaries for girls to go to school. However, a key partner in our delivering for the girl child is the government. We have provided direct support to the Gender Technical Unit in the Ministry of Education to ensure that gender equality in the girl child remains at the core of policy and implementation in the education sector. I would like to applaud the decision by government to absorb the unit as a permanent department within the ministry to ensure its sustainability. I would now like to turn to the theme of digital generation, the celebration of digital generation. Of course, education, as we know, is evolving all the time, and COVID has pushed us to adapt and evolve and keep moving. The digital generation is particularly relevant now because we know technology can offer solutions to these challenges, but they also highlight significant disparities and inequalities. In today's digital age, women and girls are less likely to access technology. COVID has accelerated digital platforms for learning, for earning, for connecting, for many of us, and that I can definitely see here in Kampala, but some 2 billion people around the world below the age of 25 still don't have internet access, and girls are more likely to be cut off. In today's world, the digital divide goes beyond the internet. Girls are less likely than boys to use and own devices and be able to access technical skills and jobs. Only by addressing this inequality and exclusion can we usher in a digital revolution for all, and I'm delighted to say that Uganda is making headway. I was very impressed reading through the booklet that the PS had referred to earlier to show all the initiatives that Uganda is taking. Earlier this year, as schools were closed, Uganda's government fast-tracked the preparation of its first digital agenda strategy. It also held a very timely and successful symposium in May to bring key stakeholders together to share best practice from multiple countries and help to discuss how we can move forward together. I know that the First Lady and her ministry are busy working to develop an ICT and education policy so that there is now a definite momentum to build on. And I can confirm that both the EU and the Development Partners Group look forward to supporting you in this regard. Finally, I'm particularly proud today that the First Lady and champion of the adolescent will launch the revised guidelines for prevention and management of teenage pregnancies in school settings, or called the re-entry guidelines. These guidelines were developed with Irish support in partnership with the Gender Technical Unit of the Ministry and UNICEF, and know that they're now needed more today than ever. As we have heard, the disruption of COVID to daily life, including the closure of schools, has led to an increase in vulnerability of girls and young women. Initial data for Uganda suggest significant increases in teenage pregnancies, and so supporting re-entry of teenage mothers into education is now more urgent. We applaud the leadership and support of the First Lady and her team in having delivered this important policy to ensure that education remains a right for all. It is a powerful signal that pregnancy does not mean the end of education for teenage mothers. This policy enables girls to be both mothers and scholars, but guides us also on how to maximise efforts to prevent teenage pregnancy. In broader terms, Ireland and the education partners stand ready to support the government in the preparations for the safe reopening of schools and to ensure that the disruption that COVID has wrought can be mitigated quickly and effectively and safely. Ireland and the EU remain absolutely committed to supporting the girl child and gender equality in Uganda, both key pillars to support government's National Development Plan 3 and to make progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. We will continue to work in partnership with the Government of Uganda, civil society and other development partners and communities to keep the girl child at the fore of our work. Together we share the responsibilities to deliver for the girl child here today and for future generations of Ugandan women to come. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Ambassador, for that powerful statement, and especially the promise that you will continue supporting us until we achieve the goals of Vision 2040. We thank you very much. Can we clap for His Excellency the Ambassador? Mama, permit me, I had forgotten one very prominent person during introduction. We have with us Professor Josephine Nabukenya, who is the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administration at Makerere University and the keynote speaker during this morning's roundtable discussion. Professor, kindly wave to Mama. Mama, permit me now to invite the UN resident coordinator to make a statement on behalf of the entire UN fraternity. Dr. Moni Safieldin. Please, let's clap, let's clap. It's good, thank you. Thank you very much.
Guest of honor, Honorable Janet Kataha Museveni, First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, Honorable Amongi Betty Ongom, Minister of Gender, Labor, Social Development, Honorable State Minister for Children and Youth Affairs, Honorable State Minister for Gender, Labor, and Social Development, Honorable State Minister for Education and Sports, Honorable MPs, distinguished senior government officials, His Excellency Ambassador of Irish and representative of the EU, UN colleagues, civil society representatives, members of the press, girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning and a happy International Day of the Girl Child to all of you. It is my pleasure to join you this morning to mark the International Day of the Girl Child. I have the honor to speak to you today on behalf of the UN system in Uganda. The message behind observing the 11th of October as the International Day of the Girl Child is simple. Girls are disadvantaged and are not enjoying their full human rights. Gender and age discrimination are at the heart of the violation of girls' rights. The world needs profound social transformation in support of girls' rights. Ladies and gentlemen, Uganda made remarkable progress towards the empowerment of girls. The senior women leadership we see in Uganda today is a testimony of many years of political commitment to girls' education and gender equity. With you, Honorable Minister of Education, Sports, and the First Lady at the helm of the Ministry of Education and Sports, Honorable Ms. Ongom as the Minister of Gender, Labor, and Social Development, Honorable Ms. Matiki as State Minister for Youth and Children Affairs, and with women in the positions of the Vice President and Prime Minister, Uganda today is well positioned to address the remaining challenges holding young girls back. This year, the world is marking the International Day of the Girl under the theme, Digital Generation, Our Generation. The world must ensure that girls, especially in developing countries, can reap the benefits of the technological revolution that has reshaped the life of every human being. When COVID-19 necessitated unprecedented public health measures such as frequent lockdowns and closure of schools and businesses, societies with advanced digital technology were able to ensure the continuity of learning and continuity of economic activities. We must ensure that girls in developing countries are part of the digital transformation. Otherwise, they will continue to be left behind as a result of the digital divide. At the moment, millions of illiterate girls who never enrolled in schools or dropped out of schools due to poverty, early marriage, and pregnancy have little hope to be part of the digital generation. So let us join our efforts to educate every girl and protect each one of them from the evils of teenage pregnancy and early marriage. Ladies and gentlemen, the UN system in Uganda wishes to congratulate the Ministry of Gender, Labor, and Social Development for making the International Day of the Girl Child this year very exceptional. Launching the revised guidelines for the prevention and management of teenage pregnancy in school settings, and launching a multimedia campaign targeting parents to protect and promote the well-being of children at home during COVID-19 pandemic on the International Day of the Girl make this day very unique in Uganda. Honorable Minister of Education and Sports, Honorable Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development, I assure you of the commitment of the entire UN system in Uganda to support all your genuine efforts to educate and empower every girl in Uganda. You can count on the UN system and all the development partners in Uganda to ensure no girl is left behind. I wish all the girls and boys of Uganda a happy International Day of the Girl Child. Thank you.
I'm sorry for that digital world. Mama, the First Lady, I've been Mondo Chateka, Assistant Commissioner, Department of Youth and Children Affairs. I have worked myself out of the job. I would like to invite the Honorable Minister of State for Youth and Children Affairs, Honorable Sarah Mateke, who is officially the Director of Ceremonies, to take off from there. Thank you very much. I'm worked out of the job. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Honorable Chief Guest, Mama Janet Kataha Museveni, Honorable Ministers of State, Members of Parliament who are here, the Permanent Secretary, the UN Fraternity, Your Excellency, the Ambassador of Ireland, and the representative of EU, all senior government officials from various ministries, departments, and agencies, members of civil society organizations, the children of Uganda, the children of the world, the media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, our very esteemed chief guest, Mama Janet Kataha Museveni, the First Lady and the Minister of Education and Sports, I bring you warm greetings from our ministry and the children of Uganda. I want to congratulate you for the good work that you have been doing, especially releasing the results of our children amidst the soaring COVID-19. Thank you so much for managing that difficult situation. Our chief guest, we are very happy and we welcome you here, not just as a former girl child, but a prominent champion of the adolescent girl and a lover and protector of the girl child, a mother and a grandmother of children all over the world. We are truly overjoyed having you here. Thank you so much. We have in the past, our chief guest listened to your wise counsel, and I must tell you that we enjoy it and always want to have more and more of it. We have, for instance, always listened to you on the need to go back to our old African adage of it takes a village to bring up a child. It is indeed spot on, and we are ensuring that the family policy certainly takes care of the rich values embedded in the adage and to enable us to love and nurture unconditionally. And for posterity, we thank you for being a very good professional teacher. Mama, with these few remarks, allow me to invite the Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development, Honorable Betty Amongi, to come and address the gathering, and thereafter invite you to launch one of the policies that are there. Thank you so much for this kind attention for God and my country.
Thank you very much. Our guest of honor, Mama, and First Lady, and Minister of Education and Sports, my colleagues, honorable ministers, members of parliament, Excellency, the UN Resident Coordinator, and the entire UN family, Excellency, the Swedish Ambassador to Uganda, development partners, civil society, permanent secretaries and government officials, our dear super guest of honors, the girl children who are with us representing the many watching and many listening, the media fraternity, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I want to salute you all on this special occasion of the commemoration of the International Day of the Girl Child, a day dedicated to the growth of girls around the world. In 1995, at the Beijing Women's Conference, it was resolved that a day be dedicated to the girl child in acknowledgement of their specific needs. This day focuses on the rights, safety, and education of girls and takes stock on the strategies required to make girls an active part of the progress of the world. This was after realization that too often adolescent girls face intersecting disadvantages because of their gender, religion, ethnic background, income, and age, among others. Some of these include defilement, early marriages, cultural practices that makes girls drop out of school, and the recent situation in Afghanistan presents a grim future that there is still much needed efforts to support girls at a global level. In Uganda, according to the annual police report of 2020, a total of 14,230 children were defiled in 2020 alone. Out of these, 14,080 were girls and only 140 were boys. That is the state of defilement. The statistics further indicate that 128 were children only ages 0 to 8 years. Imagine 1,280 children ages 0 to 8 years defiled, 2020. The age of 15 to 17 years, those defiled stood at 9,954. And those between the ages of 9 to 14 years stood at 2,980. What is even more disturbing is that 120 of these children were defiled by their own parents, 120 by their own guardians, 52 by their own teachers, and 301 by persons living with HIV/AIDS. That is the situation the girls are facing. Mama, guest of honor, we have a child helpline, Sauti 116, toll-free line operated by the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. And during the lockdown, cases were reported between March 2020 to July 2021. This report indicated that a total of 2,124 cases of abuse of girls were registered. Most of the cases were sexual in nature, of which defilement was 431, followed by child marriages, 208 cases, teenage pregnancy, 124 cases. A majority of these cases are now in the hands of the police, others in courts of law, and the ministry is doing everything possible to ensure that police and the judiciary handle the cases professionally and expeditiously. This year's theme, Digital Generation, Our Generation, recognizes that the needs of this generation is premised on the use of technology, and that access to services like education, health services, skills development, reporting of abuses against girls are shifting online, and that there is need to bridge the gaps to access and availability to digital use. COVID-19 pandemic has shown that access to technology is not a luxury anymore, but a necessity. Selling, shopping, education, entrepreneurship skills have shifted online, and a number of us here have girls and our children now studying online. Ministry of Education, we congratulate you, Mama, has also played a very great role during the pandemic in facilitating studies online, both on television and other online methods. Therefore, if we are to raise a generation of girls who are change makers, technology is a crucial tool to support their work, their activism, and their leadership. On behalf of the Ministry of Gender, I pledge that we will facilitate investments in digital access for girls and put measures for its safe and meaningful access, use, and affordability. As we proudly celebrate this day, we are happy that the government, through the National Resistance Movement, has put in place a firm foundation in form of policy and regulatory frameworks, a prerequisite for digital transformation in all spheres of the economy. Our National Vision 2040, National Development Plan 3, our ministry's strategic plans are all aligned to the realities and demand of digital and technological advancement. The Ministry of ICT has also established incubation centers, increased internet access, and e-governance, which is taking root as a means to promoting efficient and effective service delivery in government operations. On our side as a ministry, we are working with development partners to ensure that the vulnerable persons in the country, including girls and women, partake of the benefits of the rapid growth of the digital economy. The ministry has established technology-based Uganda Child Helpline to promote reporting and response to any form of abuse of children. We have a U report and SafePal, a digital youth engagement tool used by youth on issues of health, gender-based violence, female genital mutilation, HIV/AIDS, employment, etc. Other commendable initiatives with our partners also include Coding Girls, Colbury, Seeds for Future, You Learn, and many, many more. I recognize that the number of girls using technology is increasing, although still low. Many girls are using internet to challenge the status quo, participating in online classes, computer training programs, debating on equality issues, researching on how to improve their skills through technology, and challenging bullying and harassment, reporting sexual assault through our online helpline, and using internet and technology to access many services. We have achieved so much in collaboration with our partners who contribute immensely to making this day and other activities very successful. I want to recognize and thank the UN Women. I think there's a representative of UN Women here. Thank you very much. UNICEF as a key strategic partner that works with children. The General UN Fraternity, Plan International, Cheshire Services Uganda, Terrorist Des Homes, SOA Children, Village Uganda, Girl Up Initiative. I've seen a lot of girls putting on the mask written Girl Up, and I want to congratulate them. Yardnet, Mukombati, to mention but a few. We are very, very proud of this partnership to push the agenda of girls' rights forward. We, however, recognize that several factors still remain an impediment to use of technology and internet by girls in rural and urban poor areas, including the issue of affordability and access to internet. As a ministry, we shall focus our energies to mindset change, to target parents, teachers, traditional and cultural leaders, to change the cultural norms, tradition, and other aspects of society which presupposes and reinforces the notion that girls cannot study sciences, technology, engineering, mathematics. We shall encourage parents and society to start from early childhood by buying toys for girls that help stimulate their needs and skills at an early stage for science-related subjects. To the girls who are here around the country who are committed to this cause, I want to give you our commitment, the girls who are here and others, that we shall continue to question and dismantle through mindset change program, gender-based assumptions that are sexualizing girls and placing them in certain spaces and careers. I want to commit that we shall participate in changing society to believe that girls should be facilitated to get equal opportunities. We will be there to tell parents around this country that they must not love girls less because they are born daughters. We will tell schools not to limit a child's goal because they are girls. We will be there to make sure that girls around the world and this country have the courage to climb the hills to gender equality. I want to conclude by encouraging our girls here to tell you that we are proud of you. Uganda has made progress because now when examinations are released, you find girls have got AAA in sciences and they have gone to high rating schools in technology related. We want to thank Mama, who is our Minister for Education, that the foundation of empowerment is education. I would not be standing here if I was not educated. And so your role, Mama, as a Minister for Education, remains the foundation for empowerment for this country. And therefore, I ask the girls here to push their limits, to go to the sky, go to the moon, to the space, discover your possibilities and potentials. And why? Because the world is waiting for you to unleash your potential. I want to thank you, and I want to congratulate you on your day, the day of the girl child. Thank you very much. So I want to now request the people, we don't want to disturb Mama twice because she has to sign. She should have signed 2, but one had a late arrival here, but we have the multimedia campaigns targeting parents to protect and promote the well-being of children. We were proposing let her sign, and then now I invite her to make her speech so that when she makes her speech, we can conclude. MC, can we Honorable Sarah, who is the girl representing our girls?
Thank you, Mama, for launching that multimedia campaign. I request the UN to join in to sign, and some of the civil society organizations that are here to sign. The UN Women, UNFPA, Save the Children, Plan International, and a girls representative. What Mama has just launched is the multimedia campaign to protect and promote the well-being of girls and boys in Uganda. It targets parents, religious and cultural leaders, and the community leaders. And the theme is, it's my responsibility. It is my responsibility to ensure my children are safe. It is my responsibility to ensure they are healthy. It's my responsibility to ensure they go to school and that they learn. It is my responsibility to report abuse and violence. If everyone is responsible, all our children will have a good and brilliant future. It is all our duty to do that. The cardinal responsibility of a parent is to parent, to nurture, to love, and protect all the children. The UNICEF rep are pending the signature. UN Women, if we are all committed, then no hill will be high enough for us not to climb it. UNFPA, TDH, and Save the Children in Uganda. A photo moment at the launch of this very important multimedia campaign. We can all play our parts, and if we do, we get the whole. And the whole is the total well-being of our children. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that launch. And now I want to take the singular honor, Mama and First Lady and the Minister of Education, to kindly request you to address the gathering. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Honorable Amongi. Honorable Ministers present here today, Members of Parliament, Your Excellencies, the Ambassadors and members of the Diplomatic Corps, senior government officials present, representatives of civil society organizations, the girls and boy children, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Happy International Day of the Girl Child to you all. And I'm happy to be part of this occasion of commemorating this year's International Day of the Girl Child. This particular celebration comes at a time of great challenges to us as a country and humanity at large because of the ravaging COVID-19 pandemic, which has caused untold suffering and paralysis to normal operations in all spheres of life. I therefore want to begin by thanking the Ministry of Gender and Labor and Social Development for bringing us together today to remind each other of our obligations towards the girls in the unusual times we live in. In the case of the education sector, we have learned that UNESCO reports indicate that at least 165 countries in the world closed schools globally, and more than 516 million children and youth have been affected by the various containment measures that governments have had to impose to ensure safety of all people, all children and adults alike. But these have adversely affected the girls more than their male counterparts, at least here in Uganda, as we know. We continue to receive disturbing reports about criminal elements within some of our families and communities, of our people who have taken advantage of the situation to abuse the rights of our children. There are increasing cases of teenage pregnancies, early marriages, and indeed incest and defilement in our communities, as you've just heard from the Minister of Gender. Notwithstanding the fact that safe and responsible upbringing of our children is a collective responsibility between, first and foremost, the parents, the community and government. Many in present times erroneously assign this responsibility solely to government. While I agree that government has equal stake in all its citizens, parents or children or guardians, nonetheless, the family should form the first line of defense and protection for our children, and I hope that we all agree on this one. I want to appreciate all Ugandans who have exercised restraint and trusted the government to lead people with objectivity that is informed by clear objectives, selflessness, and meticulous planning in this season, which is the main reason the rate of COVID deaths has been relatively low in this country compared to other countries with similar or even better developed health systems. With the now proven strategies chosen by government, we can clearly see a glowing light at the end of the tunnel, and life should undoubtedly return to normal. Once again, we hope, if we go forward with care. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important for us to properly situate the theme for the year's celebration, which is the digital generation, our generation. In the context of parental and family obligations, it is good to aspire for gender equity and equality by addressing issues such as right of access to education, such as nutrition, health care, legal rights, and participation in the digital revolution. However, all these are enabled by good upbringing and a strong foundation of early childhood development, which only the family and society can guarantee. Given some of the obsolete social values, norms, and prejudices that disadvantage the girl children, participation in the digital revolution becomes even more elusive. It is my considered view now, therefore, that if we are to achieve inclusive participation for all our people, girls and boys, young and old, those with and without disability, in order for them to benefit from the proliferation of digital technology and services, we must urgently reposition the family in this effort. We should address ourselves to issues of the family, abdicating of their primary responsibility to their children, which is the natural expectation of their children, in order to grow up normally and with confidence. This is the first building block for any human being. The disturbingly growing belief that only schools can mold the life of a child, because it is the source of technological and other vital life skills necessary to compete in the labor market. As parents remain mere observers, this attitude must be seriously reinvestigated, and all of us must really be willing to discuss this and change this. How on earth do we expect our girls to develop skills for contemporary living and for stronger families and increased productivity when we cannot show them any examples or protect them from the vices we have already talked about that constrain their purposeful development? If, as parents and the entire community, we look on helplessly as we neglect our responsibility and allow early pregnancies and marriages, incest and defilement to thrive before our very eyes, then how on earth can we even begin to talk about the digital revolution? Knowing very well that the digital revolution has its own challenges. And this is where children need help most. Yes, that help can come from schools, but mostly this help, honestly speaking, should come from the family. And this is where I'd like to go back to the UN Women or UN family as a whole. Because there was a time when we had a program to help with parenting in this country and the protection of adolescents. And that program really helped the children to learn to say no to premarital sex. But that program ended at some stage because we had problems with how we were arranging it, and because my office changed from one place to another, and that program wasn't ongoing anymore. But perhaps it's time to reconsider a partnership with the Ministry of Gender to revive this program for the protection of adolescents and even parenting for the communities and our people who must really reconsider the role they must play in the growing up and the development of their children. You know, when we hear about these UN days for the girl child, for the African child, those children are the children who are in danger. That's how they get days annually to be remembered globally, so that people can focus on how they can solve the problems that really deter the development of these young people. The African child, whether it is a boy or a girl, have challenges as they grow. That's why we have an African Day, an African Child Day in the UN calendar, and the Day of the Girl Child. Why do other children thrive and grow and develop? Why? Because their families play the role they must play. But there is a problem in our communities, in our society, where our families have honestly abdicated their role completely. That's why you have had this outcry because of the schools being closed in this season, that girls were being made pregnant, they were being married off prematurely because the schools were closed. The schools were closed for the safety of the school children, that they may go home and be safe. But it's really disturbing to know that the children are not safe while at home. So what are we supposed to do? That's why we cannot run away from this. As leaders, as communities, we must take up our responsibility and work together, lift up our communities, and remind the families of our people, of our children, that they have a major role to play. Before the schools come in, before the government come in, the parents must play their God-given role. The old African adage that says it takes a village to raise a child, and another that says, in quotes, there is no better teacher or professor than the parent and no better school than the home, cannot be more accurate than it is now. There is need not only for equity in exposure to digital technologies and skills, but also for collective responsibility to our children, especially the girls. The achievements Uganda has made to promote affordable, accessible, resilient, and secure digital infrastructure and connectivity across the country have been well profiled in the synopsis or in the program book for the day's celebrations, and I want to go into that. We could remind ourselves, though, that Uganda is signatory to global commitments, including the Sustainable Development Goals, also abbreviated as SDGs, or known as Agenda 2030. SDG 9 obligates us to significantly increase access to information and communication technology and provide universal and affordable access to internet. In addition, SDG 17 commits us to enhance the usage of enabling technology, specifically information and communication technology. On the other hand, the African Union's Agenda 2063 under Goal 10 requires us to double ICT capacities to encourage innovation and increase competitiveness. It is equally important to note that the President has many times categorized ICT as an essential, critical enabler of development. ICT is an accelerator, amplifier of transformation, and helps to improve national productivity by making government and business enterprises more efficient, effective, and globally competitive. It is therefore a key driver of social and economic development. Accordingly, Uganda's Vision 2040 identifies ICT among the key fundamentals as well as an opportunity to spur our transformation into a modern and prosperous country. It is clear from the above that the policy and legal framework for ICT penetration has properly been laid by government. Our investment as government in the next 4 years include addressing the problem of limited network coverage so as to increase ICT penetration, internet penetration from 25% to 50%, digital terrestrial television signal coverage from 56% to 95%, 70% national backbone infrastructure connectivity at central and local government levels, and 90% broadband coverage. However, there is also need to address the high cost of end-user devices and services if we are to effectively deal with the issue of inadequate ICT knowledge and skills, especially for the very young. All the above are some of the major undertakings government is already pursuing that will ultimately ensure equity and all girls' access to ICT. The remaining gaps and bottlenecks, as outlined above, are being addressed in a systematic manner. And we need to do so urgently, remembering that human beings cannot put back the clock. Once things go wrong, they may not easily be corrected. And also, technological advancement and digitalization is at speed that may, in some instances, be unmatched by our efforts. We must move faster in order to catch up with the rest of the world. As I conclude now, I'd like to make a clarion call to all actors in the field of promotion and protection of the rights of the child to step up double efforts individually and collectively to ensure that our children live a life worth celebrating. My special appeal is first and foremost to parents, to the family. Nothing has made my heart bleed in this season of the pandemic than hearing that our children can only be safe at school, that our children are not safe at home, as I had just said. Family is the most important influence in society. Family is sacred. It is the most important building block of all that God has created. Family is responsible for God's most cherished attribute, love. God puts the greatest weight of responsibility on the family. In the Bible, He provided a template for training our children at the family level, imparting all the necessary values, principles, and life skills in the children. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verse 6 to 9, speaking to the nation of Israel, God instructed them as such, in quotes, "These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates," unquote. What God was telling us is that in order for our children to be safe in an unsafe world, we must teach and model what they need to know and understand at the family level. We must teach them to choose good over evil, so that by the time they go to school, they know from the way their parents have lived whether honesty, justice, integrity, courage, sexual purity, and other character traits are important or not. The school can have a dramatic impact, but the home is still the formative influence, and in God's eyes, the most important. Let me dare to say this, not only in parental responsibility and authority reinforced in the Bible, but government or church involvement in the primary instruction of children is almost completely absent in the Bible. I hope every family can hear me in Uganda today. Let us not politicize what is happening to the girl child. Let every family take up their God-given responsibility to nurture, to care, and instruct our children. Only then can our children be safe, and only then can they really thrive. There is an example I always give to parents whenever I get the opportunity, and also to Mothers Union whenever I have that opportunity also. That example is found in the Bible, in the book of 1 Samuel. It tells us about a man called Eli. Eli was a servant of God. He's the one who was supposed to bring up Prophet Samuel, the servant of God himself, who came to the temple of God when he was only a child. However, because Eli had failed to bring up his own children in the fear of God, instead, God sent a message to him through Prophet Samuel when he was a child. The first message God gave to Samuel as a prophet was a message to Eli. And the message was to tell Eli that he had failed to bring up his children in the fear of God, and consequently, God would let him die on the same day with his children, and that is what happened to Eli. Eli was a prophet, a man of God, but he failed to bring up his own children. And for God to give a message to humanity, he had to use his own servant. And he sent Samuel to take a message to Eli to tell him that because he had failed to give an example to his own children, that he and his children will all die on the same day, and that's what happened. And I was saying earlier on that I don't remember any example in the Bible where God showed an example of penalizing a government or a church because they didn't bring up children. Because the bringing up of children primarily is a responsibility of the family. And we must be honest to talk about this. And that is not because we shouldn't hold hands with them and guide them and work with them, but we must impress it on our communities that they have a role to their children. Their children cannot be at risk when they are in their homes. It's a shame to us as a society. So, as I was saying, I don't know of an example of God penalizing a government or a church because of failing to take care of children, because this is a responsibility He gave primarily to parents. The other stakeholders are to complement the parental role. Having said that now, let me implore the other actors at community level, non-state and state partners, to awaken to our duty also to create conditions that are conducive for our children, particularly the girls, to perform and capacitate them to achieve their full potential. As the Minister of Gender was saying, we have to help them to reach their full potential. It is not only proper and their fundamental right, but also it makes economic sense to do so. It secures the future for them as well as that of their families, of our societies, of countries, and humanity as a whole. It is often been said that if you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you educate a family and a whole nation, unquote. Finally, it is important, therefore, to anchor the digital revolution in the girls' safety and education campaign if we are to realize the full benefits of technologically driven development in Uganda, in Africa, and our world. This campaign should be combined with the vaccination of our girls and women with the prescribed age groups against the COVID-19 threat. It is to bear fruit, if it is to bear fruit. I once again wish all of you a happy commemoration of this International Day of the Girl Child and God's abundant blessing, and I thank you for listening to me.
That clapping is not adequate for the chief guest that we have. Mama, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Every time you speak, like the Minister of State pointed out, we are in a classroom and we are learning. Thank you, and may God bless you mightily. Mama, just the last request is for a photo show. And we are going to have just very few, knowing that you are time constrained. Can I start with the girl children? We shall have a picture, Mama and the girl children. It will be followed by civil society organizations and Mama, followed by the UN and the EU with Mama, and then ministers and MPs with Mama, in that order, starting with the most important. Immediately after the anthems. Girls, can we start with the children's anthem? The children's anthem? We young women are marching along the path of education, singing and dancing with joy, together uniting for a better Uganda. We are the pillars of tomorrow's Uganda. Let's rise now and embrace true knowledge, building discipline, resourcefulness to rebuild a great, great power. We young women and men are marching along the path of education, singing and dancing with joy, together uniting for a better Uganda. The East African Community Anthem. Thank you very much. The girl children, can you march in front? They are going to show you where to stand. If you know you are a girl child, I'm not talking about a former girl child. I'm talking about the current.
I'm convinced it's not because I am worthy to receive the kind of love that you
Program Guide is brought to you by Star Times is with you no matter the situation. Program Guide.